Based on the articles you sent over, you've clearly been digging into something really fascinating, this whole idea of uploading our minds.
Oh, yeah.
We see it all the time in sci-fi, don't we? Like Transcendence, that movie where the mind jumps into a computer.
Right, or The Matrix, escaping reality entirely.
Exactly. And shows like Altered Carbon stacks, letting minds swap bodies.
The stacks, yeah. Or even that Black Mirror one, San Junipero, the digital afterlife idea.
San Junipero, yeah. It's a really powerful concept, this digital immortality thing.
Absolutely. The dream of, getting past our biological limits, it grabs the imagination. And like your sources showed, it's not just niche sci-fi anymore. It's everywhere in our stories.
Totally. So for this deep dive, based just on the stuff you share, that's exactly what we're going to unpack.
Okay.
We looked at those neuroscience articles,
Right.
the philosophical arguments they kicked off. Our mission here is really to explore that gap, the gap between the sci-fi dream and what science actually says about, putting a human mind in a machine.
Right. We want to give you a clearer picture of where the cool fiction ideas meet sometimes the pretty tough realities of the research right now.
So how should we approach it?
Well, maybe start with those sci-fi visions you're clearly thinking about.
Good idea.
Then we can ground ourselves in the neuroscience. What is consciousness? What's the brain actually doing?
Makes sense.
Then maybe tackle the big philosophical questions and touch on the real tech that's happening now.
Okay. And finish with what? Future timelines, potential futures.
Yeah, exactly. But keeping in mind how speculative those really are. Give you a structured look at a complex topic.
All right, let's do it. Let's unpack this, starting with those sci-fi visions you flagged. This digital immortality dream, what's the core of it?
Well, like you said, often it's about beating death, right?
Yeah.
Altered carbon, which you brought up, is a perfect example.
Yeah.
Your whole consciousness, your identity inside a transferable gadget makes physical death, less final.
Right, just a sleeve change.
Kinda. Then you have San Junipero, which is a bit different. Uploading to a pure digital world, a virtual heaven maybe, living on forever there.
A digital afterlife, yeah.
And Transcendence goes another way, enhancement. The mind gets uploaded, but into this quantum computer, becomes super intelligent, gains new powers.
It's not just survival, it's maybe evolution, becoming something more.
Could be, yeah. That's often part of the appeal.
And what about the tech they imagine? How does this mind uploading actually happen in these stories?
Usually a few key ideas pop up. One big one, and it's in several of your sources, is whole brain emulation, WBE.
WB, okay.
The basic idea is scan your brain in unbelievable detail, every single neuron, every connection, every synapse, and then build a perfect digital copy, a simulation running on a massive computer.
The digital replica.
Exactly. Another way they show it is brain-computer interfaces, BCIs. That's often more gradual, like merging our biology with digital systems over time.
Like cyborgs,
Yeah,
almost.
sort of, yeah, or enhancing capabilities bit by bit. And then there's the idea of digital twins or simulacra, creating software copies that act just like the original person.
Okay, these all sound incredibly complex.
Yeah.
Mind-bogglingly complex, actually.
They are.
So let's shift gears. What do your neuroscience articles say? What is consciousness, scientifically speaking? That seems pretty fundamental here.
It absolutely is. And honestly, this is where it gets really, really tricky. Fast.
Uh-oh.
From a neuroscience view, consciousness is basically awareness. Being aware of yourself, aware of the world around you.
Sure.
Simple definition, right?
That's simple enough.
But, and this is a huge but that your philosophy readings dive into.
Yeah.
We hit what David Chalmers famously called the hard problem of consciousness.
The hard problem. Okay.
How does the physical stuff, the neurons firing, the chemicals washing around, the electrical buzz, how does that create our subjective inner experience?
You mean like the feeling of seeing red or the taste of chocolate, that feeling part?
Exactly. That what it's like to be you, your unique, private, internal world. How does soggy gray matter produce that?
Right, and I think you noted this somewhere. If we don't even get how consciousness starts, how it arises from the physical brain,
then how on earth can we talk about copying it or transferring it or recreating it in silicon?
it seems like a massive leap.
It's the fundamental roadblock, really. Until we properly understand the neural correlates of consciousness, the brain activity that is the experience, not just associated with it uploading, stays purely speculative, no matter how good our computers get.
So even if we could make that perfect map of the brain, like some sources discuss, that wouldn't be enough. What is the scale we're talking about? How complex is it?
The scale is, well, it's astronomical. Think about 86 billion neurons. approximately.
96 billion, wow.
And then maybe 100 trillion connections, synapses between them. But it's not just the numbers.
It's how they connect.
It's how they connect and how they talk. It's constant dynamic interaction, neurons firing, floods of neurochemicals, electrical patterns shifting millisecond by millisecond.
Okay.
And crucially, as your articles point out, it's not fixed. The brain isn't static hardware, it's plastic. It rewires itself constantly based on everything we do, learn, experience.
So taking a snapshot, like copying a hard drive, it misses the point.
It misses a huge part of the picture, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a living, evolving system.
Yeah.
And think about memories, emotions, things that make us us.
Uh-huh.
They aren't just data files stored neatly in folders. They're woven into the fabric of our experiences, our body's chemical states, the context. A wiring diagram alone might not capture any of that richness.
Like, remember your first kiss isn't just data point kiss 001.
Exactly. It's the feeling, the place, the awkwardness, the whole sensory experience wrapped up together. How do you upload that?
Okay, so back to that whole brain emulation idea, the WBE.
Yeah.
That seems central in a lot of the sci-fi you mentioned.
Yeah.
Where are we with that scientifically?
Well, there are researchers working on it. People like Henry Markram, Kenneth Hayworth are names that pop up in your readings. The general idea is often, okay, preserve a brain, maybe cryopreservation.
Freezing it.
Right. Then slice it incredibly thin, nanometers thin.
Wow.
Scan each slice at super high resolution to capture every neuron, every synapse. Then, theoretically, digitally reconstruct that whole network in 3D.
And then,
Again, theoretically, run it, simulate the whole thing on a ridiculously powerful supercomputer.
that sounds monumentally difficult. How far have we actually gotten?
Well, like your sources mentioned, we've done something like WBE for really simple organisms.
Yeah.
The famous one is the C. elegans roundworm.
Okay. How complex is that?
It has about 302 neurons.
302. Compared to 86 billion.
Exactly.
Yep.
The difference is almost incomprehensible. And there's another big snag with current tech.
Which is?
To get the resolution you need for WBE, the scanning methods we have now are destructive.
Yeah.
You basically have to destroy the brain slice by slice to scan it.
Right. So the original you who decided to upload, they wouldn't exactly be around to enjoy their digital self, would they?
Precisely. Which brings us right back to that massive question you circled in your notes.
A consciousness question again.
Yeah. Even if we could make a perfect digital copy, neuron for neuron, synapse for synapse, would it actually be conscious? Would it have subjective experience?
Or would it just act conscious? Like a really, really convincing simulation?
Exactly. A philosophical zombie, some might call it. Would it feel like anything to be that simulation? That's the mystery. That's what those philosophical sources are wrestling with.
Which, yeah, leads us straight into that philosophical and ethical minefield you highlighted. If we did upload a mind, is it really you? That's kind of terrifying to think about.
It really is. Philosophers have chewed on identity for ages, but mind uploading adds this wild new twist. Like, what about the continuity of consciousness?
Can your experience, your you-ness, just jump from flesh to code seamlessly?
Or is there a break? A gap? Does the stream of consciousness stop and a new one start?
It feels like that teleportation paradox, you know?
Yeah.
Beam me up, Scotty.
Exactly. If the original you is taken apart and a perfect copy is reassembled elsewhere, is the person who arrives you.
Or just a copy who thinks they're you.
Right. And if the biological you is destroyed during the upload, is the digital version still you? Or something new based on your pattern?
And what about that scenario one article raised the split identity?
Oh, yeah, that's a head scratcher. What if the upload works, creates a digital you, but the biological you isn't destroyed? You just carry on living.
So there are two of you.
Potentially. Two distinct beings, maybe starting to have different experiences, different thoughts. Which one is the real you? Does that question even make sense then?
Wow. Yeah, no easy answers there.
None at all.
And moving beyond just my identity, what about the ethics of these digital minds themselves? Your forces brought that up too.
That's another huge can of worms. If an upload is conscious, can it suffer digitally?
Does it feel pain? Loneliness? Fear?
If so, does it deserve rights? Should we treat it as a person with moral standing like us?
And who controls it? If it exists only in a server.
Who owns the server? Could it be deleted, copied against its will, forced to do tasks, digital slavery?
These are massive ethical questions we need to figure out. Long before the tech is even possible, maybe?
Ideally, yes. Because the implications are profound.
Okay, this is almost overwhelming. Let's maybe shift focus a bit. Are there any current technologies, based on your articles, that aren't full upload, but maybe stepping stones? Related things happening now?
Yes, definitely. While we're nowhere near uploading a whole mind, there's really exciting stuff happening in neurotech that feels adjacent, or like precursors.
Like what?
Brain-computer interfaces, BCIs, that's a big one.
Right, Neuralink comes up a lot.
Yeah.
Elon Musk's thing.
Exactly. Neuralink got mentioned in one of your news pieces. They're aiming for really high bandwidth interfaces, much more data flowing back and forth between brain and computer.
So what could that do? Not upload, but...
Well, think about potential applications. Memory enhancement, maybe. Controlling advanced prosthetics just by thinking.
helping people with paralysis.
Yeah, exactly. Treating neurological conditions, those seem like much more near-term tangible benefits that researchers are actively working on.
So it's not downloading your soul to the cloud, but it is making that brain-digital link much tighter, much more direct.
Precisely. And we're also seeing progress in, like, digital memory storage or manipulation.
So?
Some research you included looks at how memories are physically encoded, and there have been experiments, mainly in mice, using things like optogenetics.
Using light to control neurons.
Yeah, basically, where they've been able to sort of record specific memories or even activate or suppress them. It's early days, and it's mice.
Right, not humans.
Not humans, but it points towards future possibilities. Maybe artificial cognitive boosts? Neural prosthetics that could replace lost cognitive functions someday?
That's fascinating. And what about those digital twins or simulations you mentioned earlier? Where do they fit?
Well, think about AI like ChatGPT, which you noted. It's getting incredibly good at mimicking human conversation, right?
Scary good sometimes.
Yeah. So it's not a huge leap to imagine creating more complex digital selves. AI trained on your data, your writing, your speech patterns, your choices.
So it could talk like me, have my opinions.
Potentially, yeah. Mimic your personality, your sense of humor. It could be a kind of digital legacy, maybe, a representation.
But it wouldn't be me.
No, and that's the critical point several sources stress again and again. Sophisticated mimicry is not the same as genuine consciousness. A chatbot that sounds exactly like you doesn't have your inner life.
Right. It's a puppet, however convincing. Not the puppeteer.
Good analogy, yeah.
So looking ahead then, based on everything you've pulled together, what are the realistic timelines here, even for the less sci-fi stuff?
Okay, well, based on current progress, expert guesses.
Yeah.
Mapping the whole human connectome, that wiring diagram we talked about.
Yeah.
Maybe the 2040s, 2050s, that feels like medium feasibility. The tech for imaging and analysis is moving fast.
Okay, decades away, but conceivable. What about emulating the brain's behavior, making something that acts human?
That might follow. Maybe 2050s to 2070s? Again, medium feasibility seems to be the consensus. Getting a simulation that responds like a human brain. Plausibly.
But just acting like one, not necessarily being conscious.
Exactly. That's the key distinction.
So the big one, actually uploading subjective consciousness, transferring the self.
That's where, well, the timeline goes completely fuzzy, unknown. Feasibility right now, generally seen as low.
Because we don't understand consciousness itself well enough.
Precisely. We don't know it needs to be transferred or replicated, or if it even can be. So true digital immortality mind transfer, like in the movies, that's still firmly sci-fi.
Yeah.
Highly speculative, as your more grounded sources make clear.
Okay, so the main takeaway for you from all this material, it seems, consciousness upload is still mostly science fiction, a powerful idea, but not current science fact.
Pretty much.
The neuroscience is moving forward. We're learning more about the brain all the time.
Absolutely. Progress in understanding the brain's mechanics is steady, even accelerating. But that core mystery, that hard problem of subjective experience, that's the huge hurdle for anything like true uploading.
And it sounds like getting past that hurdle isn't just about better tech. It needs like a philosophical breakthrough too, understanding what consciousness is.
I think so, yeah. The science and the philosophy are tangled together here. And who knows? As we develop more advanced neurotech, maybe our understanding of both will shift in ways we can't even predict right now.
Could open up possibilities we currently dismiss.
It's possible. The future is hard to predict, especially here.
So wrapping up this deep dive based on your stuff, it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What actually makes you? Could a perfect digital copy ever capture your unique experience of just being alive? It's definitely something to keep thinking about.
Absolutely. What is the self? Is it the pattern, the matter, the experience? Still the biggest questions, maybe.